You know that feeling when you see a job posting and the salary number just stops you cold? Maybe it's $200,000, $300,000 a year. Your brain does the math instantly. You imagine the apartment, the car, the freedom. You think, that's it. That's the number that changes everything. But here's the thing that nobody wants to tell you. I've met millionaires who earn less than $100,000 a year, and I've met people making $500,000 who are completely broke. One of them is stressed out of their mind, trapped in a job they hate, unable to quit. The other one is genuinely free. And the difference between them has almost nothing to do with how much money is actually hitting their bank account. This is the story of why a high salary is one of the most dangerous traps in modern life, and why almost nobody sees it coming. Let me take you back to 2015. A guy I know, let's call him Daniel, landed his dream job, senior developer at a major tech company. The salary was $120,000. To him, it felt like winning the lottery. He'd spent years building up to this moment, and finally, it was happening. He remembers the day he signed the offer letter. He felt invincible. 6 months later, he was miserable. Not because of the work itself, but because something unexpected happened. The moment his salary jumped, his life did too. Suddenly, he could afford nicer things. His friends were upgrading their apartments, so he did too. That apartment cost an extra $800 a month. Then he got a car that actually ran reliably, which was nice, until he realized he was now spending $600 on payments and insurance. His girlfriend wanted to travel more. They were finally making real money, right? So they started taking nicer vacations. $1,000 here, $2,000 there. By the time his first year was up, Daniel was making more money than he'd ever made in his life. But he was saving less. That's not a personal failure on his part. That's actually a psychological phenomenon called lifestyle inflation, and it happens to almost everybody who gets a raise. There's this concept in psychology called the hedonic treadmill. It's the idea that we quickly adapt to positive changes in our lives, and then we need more of them to feel the same level of happiness. You get the high salary you've been dreaming about, and for maybe 3 months you feel incredible. Then your brain just kind of absorbs it as normal, and that boost fades away. So what do? You spend more because the money is there, and you're desperately chasing that feeling of progress you had before. The real trick is this. When your income goes up, but your expenses go up at the same rate or faster, you don't actually get richer. You just get more comfortable. And comfort is dangerous because it's not the same as freedom. Think about it this way. If you're making $100,000 a year and you're spending $95,000, you have $5,000 to save or invest. That's 5,000 units of freedom. But if someone is making $300,000 and spending $295,000, they are in exactly the same financial position as the first person, except they're probably way more stressed because they have a much higher cost of living to maintain. I talked to a financial advisor named Rebecca who's worked with hundreds of high earners, and she told me something that stuck with me. She said the wealthiest people she works with are almost never the ones making the most money. They're the ones who decided early on what their lifestyle was going to cost, and then they didn't let their income change that number. A lawyer making $250,000 a year who lives like someone making $80,000 and invests the rest, that person is building wealth. A banker making the same $250,000 who upgraded everything, that person is on a treadmill, and the treadmill is accelerating. This is why you see celebrities going bankrupt. It's not because they didn't make enough money. It's because they couldn't figure out how to keep their expenses lower than their income, no matter how high that income was. And if that can happen to someone making millions, it can happen to anyone. The other thing that happens with a high salary is that it creates what I call a golden handcuff situation. You're now trapped, but the cage is made of money. You need that salary because you've built your entire life around it. Every month, you're committed to a certain level of spending. The mortgage is locked in, the car payments are locked in, the schools the kids go to, the neighborhood, the vacations, it's all locked in. So when something goes wrong, and something always goes wrong eventually, you can't leave. Your boss makes an unreasonable demand, you can't walk away because you've got a $2 million house with a mortgage. You hate your job? Doesn't matter, you've got obligations. Suddenly, you don't have a career anymore. You have a cage. Compare that to someone who made a different choice. Someone who got a good job, didn't inflate their lifestyle, and built actual savings and investments. That person has optionality. They can take risks. They can leave a bad situation. They can start something. They're not free because they have more money than everyone else. They're free because they have less obligation than everyone else. I think about this a lot, actually. We're taught that more is always better. More money, more stuff, more status, and we chase it hard. But nobody ever talks about the fact that more responsibility comes with more money and more obligation comes with more stuff. The person with $500,000 in the bank but no expenses might genuinely be freer than the person with $1 million income and $2 million in obligations. Here's what I know. If you ever want to actually get rich, and I mean build real wealth that gives you real freedom, you have to treat a high salary like a superpower, not a permission slip to spend more. The moment you get that raise, you have a choice. You can let your lifestyle absorb it, or you can let your future absorb it. The person who chooses wrong wakes up at 45 making $300,000 a year and realizes they're actually financially independent, even if they make a fraction of that. A high salary isn't what makes you rich. The gap between your income and your expenses is what makes you rich. Everything else is just noise.